Hi students, hope all are doing well. So today we are moving on to a new chapter. The name of the chapter is Plant Kingdom. So we have already covered three kingdoms. What were the three kingdoms? It was Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi. Now we are going to discuss about Kingdom Plantae. Okay, as a separate chapter, Plant Kingdom, all the organisms which are included under Plantae we are going to discuss. Okay. Now, when you are seeing this Kingdom Plantae, it has been divided into 5 categories. So, what are they? It's Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, Gymnosperms and Angiosperms. Now, all these categories, that is Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, Gymnosperms and Angiosperms, we are going to learn. Okay. Now, when you are moving on to the next thing, what has to be discussed is systems of classification. So, the systems of classification is put under 3 headings. What are the 3 headings? One is the artificial system of classification. So, classification on what basis it was? It has been divided into 3 categories. One is artificial system, second one is natural system and the third one is phylogenetic system. So, artificial system, what they considered for classifying these plants when you are seeing. Artificial system considered only the external morphology. The internal structures were not learned. Only by superficially learning, plants were put into different categories. Now, natural system when you are seeing, what they considered is that they considered mostly the internal structure. The internal structure anatomy, they considered the anatomy of the stem, anatomy of the root, anatomy of the flower, that and all was studied. Anatomy, internal structure. And artificial system, what they were discussing morphology. Morphology means what? Only the external characters. By just seeing one person from outside, what and all I can say is the external character. So that is morphology. So artificial system was considering morphology. Natural system, they considered along with morphology anatomy. Anatomy means what? The internal structure. Other than that, they also considered embryology. What is embryology? Study of the embryo. Okay, how the embryo is developing, various stages. That and all also was considered under what? This natural system. Okay, so they were mostly considering all these things like anatomy, thereafter embryology. Okay, then phytochemistry. Phytochemistry means what? The chemical structure present inside. All these things were considered under which one? The natural system. Next we are moving on to the third one, phylogenetic. Phylogenetic we have already learned. What is phylogenetic? Dealing with evolutionary history, study of evolution. How, what all they were resembling, their ancestor, which plant they are resembling the most. So, considering that one, we call it as what? Phylogeny. So, artificial system considered only morphology, external characters. Natural system considered anatomy, mainly the internal characters, the chemical composition, their structure, okay, their things was considered. Phylogeny was considering we are classifying plants based on the evolutionary history, how the evolution and the evolution, which plant they are resembling. Based on that, the phylogenetic system was classified. Okay. Now, we are moving on to the first one, Thallophyta. Under that, we are going to discuss algae. So, under Thallophyta, who is coming? Algae. So, we are going to discuss algae first. Okay. So, when you are seeing this algae, the algae are having few characteristics. What are the characteristics of algae? They are chlorophyll bearing thalloid, aquatic, or they are placed in very moist places. You can find these algae growing. So, chlorophyll, they contain chlorophyll. Thalloid means this is the structure. Thalloid will be somewhat like this. Okay, thalloid, thallus like structure. You can find in the aquatic environment, water bodies, or wherever there is some moist places also. What you can find? You can find algae. Okay, and they are microscopic in nature. If you are taking a single one, they are microscopic in nature, unicellular sometimes they remain many algae clubbed together in the colonial form. so it becomes visible. Okay, so like colonies, they group together and stay together. Okay, so that is right, colonies they used to stay. Now vegetative reproduction, by which means it is taking place by fragmentation. You know what is fragmentation? So this is one thallus, so immediately you can find this thallus is dividing into two, and one is acting as a one thallus, another one is acting again, this is dividing into two, like that. You can find they are dividing many. Okay, or if you are taking the Spirogyra like filamentous, okay, so they are dividing into many fragments, each fragment is developing into new. So that is fragmentation. Asexual reproduction is taking place with the help of a spore called as what? The zoospore. Sexual reproduction can be of three types. So what are the three types you have learned? One is isogamous. These terms we have already learned, isn't it? So what is isogamous? If the gametes are similar, both the gametes which are fusing, sexual, so two parent, both the gametes which are fusing are similar. Similar means what? They are same. Then we call it as what? Isogamous. If the gametes which are fusing are different, okay, so one is somewhat big and the other one is small, having different shape, then it is anisogamous. Example is what? Chlamydomonas. For isogamous it is Spirogyra, okay, and that is the name of the algae. And another one is what? The oogamous. So what is the oogamous? In oogamous you can find one female which is somewhat bigger in size, and they are not having flagella, they cannot move, okay, they are not having any structures for movement. Now another one gamete, when you are seeing, it will be somewhat smaller in size and they have flagella. So they can move, motile. This is motile, they can move, this cannot move. So when the fertilization is taking place within these two type of gametes, we give the name oogamous. What do we call them? Oogamous. Okay. One is large and they are not motile, that is acting as female. We consider it as female. And another one is small and they are having flagella, it is motile in nature. So if the fusion is taking place between those, then we call it as oogamous. So isogamous is between two similar gametes, and isogamous is between two different gametes, and oogamous is one which is large motile, non-motile, and another one is small motile, right? Now uses of algae. What are the different uses of algae? So algae, as you know, they are helping in preparing food, isn't it? So they have chlorophyll, so they do what? Photosynthesis. So most of the carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, what is needed? Carbon dioxide plus water. In the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, food is formed, isn't it? So for photosynthesis, what and all is needed? Carbon dioxide plus water, and in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, we are getting what? We are getting food. Now when you are seeing this uses, the algae, since it is green in color, they are having chlorophyll, they can synthesize their food. Okay, so this carbon dioxide is absorbed by this algae and it is fixed in the plants for photosynthesis, for making food. Clear? And when this process is taking place, what is released? Oxygen is released. So carbon dioxide is taken, so the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is coming down and oxygen is released during photosynthesis. Oxygen concentration is going up. So whether it is a good thing or a bad thing, it's a very good thing, isn't it? So algae is playing a major role in increasing the concentration of oxygen, especially in the aquatic environment. They increase the concentration of what? The dissolved oxygen. Then since it is producing food, they are acting like producers. What do you mean by producers? You know, isn't it? So if you are taking a food chain, what do you find first? You can find plants. What is present? A plant, isn't it? So the first is a plant. The algae is acting like plants. The algae are taken by floating animals. We call it as zooplanktons. What do we call? Zooplanktons, and this is taken by the small fish. So when you are seeing in the food chain, this algae is playing a major role, because without plants the animals cannot survive because they need food. And who is helping in providing them the food? The algae. Why? Because they can photosynthesize and produce food. Okay. Now many of these algae, when you are seeing, we can use it directly as food for making salads and all we are using. Laminaria, sargassum are all examples for algae which can be used as a food supplement. And you also know that some of the algae like chlorella as well as your spirulina, it has been dried and it is converted into powders, and it is very rich in protein. That's why for making protein X, protein powders and all will be available, isn't it? For making that we are using for these algae, as well as it is a food supplement for the one who is traveling into space. They take this one as a food. Okay, so it is easily digestible, at the same time it's highly rich in nutrients. So that is one other good use of what? Algae. Then some red and brown algae, when you are seeing, like they are producing hydrocolloids. Colloids, you know, colloidal forms. So this hydrocolloids, like they are producing two things, algin and keratin. Okay, algin is produced from what? The brown algae, and keratin is produced from what? The red algae. This algin is used for treating cholesterol, means they are lowering the cholesterol level, so it is used in making medicines. And this keratin, when you are saying, it is used in case of some intestinal problems, as well as for cough, bronchitis, for treating that and all, we are using what? This keratin is used. Okay, so in making medicines we are using this algae. And another thing is that, like Gelidium as well as Gracilaria, when you are seeing, so this Gelidium and Gracilaria is used as a substratum, a growth promoting medium. So when you are studying microorganisms in the laboratory, the scientist, or for carrying out any research purpose, when you are culturing microorganisms, these algae are used as a substratum. Substratum means what? So imagine this is an algae powder which is made from Gelidium or Gracilaria. Okay, and this powder is mixed with water and it is converted into a paste and it is poured into this tray. Now this is acting as a very rich nutrient source. If you are putting any microorganism into it, what you are going to put? You are going to put any microorganism into it. Okay, so when you are putting any microorganism into it, you can find these microorganism will be taking the food into it. Thereafter they will be going on multiplying. So for culturing the microorganism, to study their characteristics, this Gelidium and Gracilaria is used as a substratum or a food source, staying place, so that they can be cultured and can be studied. Okay, so that is the uses of what? That is the uses of algae. Now algae's division, they are divided into three. One is Chlorophyceae, Phaeophyceae, Rhodophyceae. Okay, so now what we are going to do is that we are just going to differentiate between, we are going to learn the characteristics of Chlorophyceae, Phaeophyceae and Rhodophyceae. Now this, for making it easy, I have given it like that. Okay, so first one is what? Chlorophyceae, second one is what? Phaeophyceae, and the third one is what? The third one is Rhodophyceae. Now characteristics we are going to learn. So these are the characteristics. What are they commonly called? How is their structure? What is the pigment present? Cell wall, what is made up of? What is the food which is stored in them? How they are vegetatively propagating? What is the form of sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction? Now Chlorophyceae, it is green in color. That's why commonly it is called as green algae. Phaeophyceae is brown algae. Rhodophyceae is red algae. Structure, when you are seeing the Chlorophyceae, they are having grass green like structure, and the chloroplast. You know what is a chloroplast? Inside the cell you have chloroplast in which chlorophyll is present. This chloroplast will be disc-like discoid, or it can be a cup-shaped structure, or it can be a spiral structure. Okay, so it can be a disc-like structure, it can be a cup-shaped structure, or it can be a spiral structure. So these are the different structure what this algae can be. Okay, Chlorophyceae can be, the chloroplast can be having these all structures. So that is grass green like, they are having chloroplast which is discoid, cup shaped and spiral. Now when you are seeing this Phaeophyceae, they are branched, they are filamentous, they are branched, filamentous, and they are having different shape. Now first one, when you see Chlorophyceae is having structures like this. Some of the Chlorophyceae are like this. Chlorella, Spirogyra, you can find filamentous, somewhat unicellular, colonial forms. Chlamydomonas will be looking like this. Volvox in the form of a colony. Okay. Now the Phaeophyceae. Phaeophyceae, when you are seeing, they are having structures called hold fast. So what is hold fast? Hold fast is a root like structure which is helping in fixing the plant. Okay. Another one is your stipe. Stipe is the stem like structure which is present, which is helping in what? Growing vertically up. Okay, stem like structure. And thereafter you can find the leaf like structure, green one, which is photosynthesizing, frond. What do we call them? Frond. So Phaeophyceae is having a structure similar to this. This is again a Phaeophyceae which grows around 100 meters. You can find all clubbed together in colonial form, they will be staying. So this is again a Phaeophyceae. Okay. So Phaeophyceae, the characteristics I told you, it is having what? Hold fast, root like structure, stipe, stem like structure, fronds is the leaf like structure, right? And this Rhodophyceae, if you are seeing the Rhodophyceae is red algae, this is having structure like this. Clear? So they are filamentous, they are multicellular, you can understand, made up of many cells, and they are having what? A complex body structure, somewhat complex plant like structures they are having. So this is regarding the structural differences between Chlorophyceae, Phaeophyceae and Rhodophyceae. Chlorophyceae you can find unicellular as well as multicellular forms. Now pigments, what and all are the pigments present? In Chlorophyceae you are having chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, keratin and xanthophyll. Chlorophyll A, B, keratin is somewhat orange pigment like pigment which is orange in color, xanthophyll yellow in color. Now moving on to Phaeophyceae, they have chlorophyll A, chlorophyll C. Okay, types of chlorophyll, keratin I told you, orange, xanthophyll yellow, fucoxanthin somewhat brown olive green in color. Okay, that is their characteristic one, fucoxanthin, a pigment which because of this only it is brown in color, Phaeophyceae. And the red algae is having red color because of the presence of a dominating pigment phycoerythrin. Chlorophyll A and D is present in less, phycoerythrin is more, which is giving them the red color. Okay. Now the cellulose is the cell wall which the Chlorophyceae is made up of, and Phaeophyceae is made up of a form of sugar called as mannitol. Okay, when you are seeing the cell wall, it is made up of what? Cellulose and algin. Algin is a structure, okay, a carbohydrate like structure. So algin as well as cellulose is the cell wall of the Phaeophyceae is made up of, and Rhodophyceae is made up of cellulose and pectin. So these are all molecular structures, molecular chemical composition what the cell wall is made up of. Now food is stored in the form of what and all in these different algae, that's what we are going to see. Okay, so the food is stored in the form of starch in Chlorophyceae. So in Chlorophyceae it is starch, and in case of Phaeophyceae it is stored in the form of a sugar like form called as mannitol, a form of sugar. Okay, laminarin is a form of a starch. Laminarin is a different form of a starch having different chemical composition. So again, Phaeophyceae is made up of stored food materials called as mannitol and laminarin. So if you are having it, you are having mannitol and laminarin, a carbohydrate, a sugar substitute, supplement. Okay. And Rhodophyceae, they are made up of another starch called as what? Fluoridine starch. All these molecular structures are different, having different chemical composition, right? Now, how are these algae vegetatively propagating its fragmentation? For 3. Asexual reproduction in Chlorophyceae, it is with the help of flagellated zoospore with flagella. Okay. And Phaeophyceae is also the same zoospore, but when you are seeing they are having chloroplast, the structure somewhat like a pear shaped structure. Okay, so that is a different thing. And Rhodophyceae, the asexual reproduction is not flagellated, it's non-motile spores. They are not moving, they are not motile in nature, like that spores only. The Rhodophyceae is having what? Asexual reproduction. Sexual, in these two cases it's the same. Chlorophyceae and Phaeophyceae we have learned isogamous, similar gametes fusion, and isogamous, two dissimilar gametes. Oogamous, one is what? The large non-motile which is acting like a female, that symbol is what? It is a female symbol. Okay, and the other one is the male. Okay, so female symbol, how we will write? We usually write it as round plus. Okay, so like this round and plus, it is female. This round on the top arrow like this, it is male. So when you are seeing in oogamous, one is acting like a female, the non-motile larger one, and one is like acting like a male, who is that? The small with the motile flagella. Okay, And 5,5-Z again same, only isogamous, anisogamous or oogamous. And in rhodophyceae mostly it is what? It is oogamous type. Okay. So these are the differences between what? Chlorophyceae, Phaeophyceae and rhodophyceae. I have showed you the diagram already. With this we are coming to the end of the algae part. I will show you the diagram once more. The Chlorophyceae, you can find this is Chlorophyceae chara, Chlorella, Spirogyra Chlorophyceae, Volvox, Chlamydomonas Chlorophyceae. Okay. This one is Phaeophyceae. This is again Laminaria Phaeophyceae, Sargassum Phaeophyceae. These are used as a food supplement for making salads and all, right. Rhodophyceae, Porphyra and Gelidium, and this one is Polysiphonia, again a rhodophyceae. So with this, the algae we are coming to an end. Hope you have all understood. Thank you.